When I got back from deployment, my house was gone. Not damaged, not repossessed, sold. The woman who sold it, my HOA President Karen. Her excuse, I thought you'd die in combat. Yeah, that's what she said to my face. Before all this madness, my life was simple. I was a Marine, proud of my service, proud of the little patch of America I called home, Brookfield Estates, a quiet neighborhood with clean lawns, cookie-cutter houses, and one self-appointed dictator, Karen. She was the kind of woman who measured grass with a ruler and smiled like a snake when she wrote fines. The clipboard wasn't just her accessory, it was her sword. I'd bought my house with years of savings. Every nail, every inch of cedar in that old shed meant something to me. My grandfather's tools were still in there, his hammer, his saw, the smell of oil and wood still fresh from decades ago. When you grow up in a military family, home isn't just a place, it's your anchor. From the day I moved in, Karen had a problem with everything I did. My flagpole was too tall, my truck was too military, and my front porch light was too bright for community aesthetics. She once told me camouflage paint offended her sense of peace. I laughed it off. People like her feed on power, they breathe it like oxygen, and I wasn't about to let some suburban queen ruin my peace. When deployment orders came in, I did everything by the book. I filed all the paperwork with the HOA, with the county, with everyone. I even sent an official notice of military deployment so no one could claim I abandoned the property. The morning I left, I stood on my porch breathing in the scent of cedar and morning dew, watching the sunlight hit the driveway just right. It wasn't a mansion, but it was mine. Across the street, Karen stood there pretending to water her roses while staring right at me. Not a single word. No stay safe, no thank you for your service. Just that smug little smirk like she knew something I didn't. I brushed it off. I had bigger things to worry about than a bored woman with a rule book. Out there in the desert, life was simple in a brutal kind of way. You eat when you can sleep, when you can fight, when you must. The chaos made sense. At least out there, the enemy wears a uniform. Back home, not so clear. A few weeks into deployment, I started getting strange emails. First from my bank, unusual activity detected in your mortgage account. Then came photos from my neighbor's bright orange violation notices slapped across my door. Overgrown lawn, neglect, property abandonment. I stared at those pictures, sand still on my gloves, and I couldn't help but laugh. I was dodging mortars, but apparently the real war was my lawn. I ignored it at first. Probably Karen being Karen. But then another message came from the bank, words that made my blood run cold. Foreclosure proceedings may begin due to unpaid HOA fines. I called the bank using a satellite phone. Static filled the air as I spoke, the wind howling in the background. There must be a mistake. I'm on active duty, I said. The voice on the other end was calm, detached. The HOA reported your property as abandoned, sir. There's a debt balance from unpaid fees. I clenched the phone so tight my knuckles went white. I left months ago under military orders. That's illegal. We'll note your concern, they said, but foreclosure is already in process. I hung up and sat there in silence, surrounded by the noise of war, yet feeling completely powerless. My hands trembled. I'd faced enemies halfway across the world, but this was different. This was personal. For the first time in a long while, I questioned myself. Maybe I should have trusted my gut about her. Maybe I should have asked someone to check in on the house. Maybe this was my fault. That night I couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw that house, my porch, my tools, my life being stripped away by people who didn't earn any of it. I almost gave up right there. I almost decided to let it go. What was one house compared to 1,000 miles of war? But then I remembered something my old man used to say. You don't quit when you're tired, you quit when you're done. The next morning I filed for emergency leave under the Service Members Civil Relief Act. My commanding officer didn't ask questions. He looked me in the eye and said, "Go handle your business, Marine." 2 weeks later I was home, or so I thought. The moment I pulled into the neighborhood, people looked at me like they'd seen a ghost. My next-door neighbor, Rick, froze mid-step, grocery bags in hand. You don't know, do you?" he said quietly. "Know what?" He didn't answer, just looked away. I turned the corner toward my driveway and froze. There was a car parked there I didn't recognize. Toys scattered on my lawn. Curtains I'd never bought. The flagpole was gone. My house looked lived in, just not by me. I walked up to the door, heart pounding in my chest. Before I could knock, a woman opened it, coffee cup in hand, like this was perfectly normal. She froze when she saw my uniform. "Can I help you?" she asked. "Yeah," I said, voice tight. "This is my house." She hesitated. "We bought it from the HOA auction 2 months ago. The previous owner abandoned it." I almost laughed. "Abandoned it, lady. I was deployed overseas." Her eyes widened, realization dawning. "I'm so sorry. We had no idea." I didn't blame her. She wasn't the enemy. She was just another victim of Karen's empire. I walked away, duffel bag still slung over my shoulder, every step heavier than the last. The HOA office was just down the street, and when I got there, the door was open. Inside sat Karen, feet kicked up, sipping her overpriced coffee, acting like she owned the damn world. She looked up and smiled that same poisonous smile. "Oh, you're back." "You sold my house," I said flatly. She shrugged, didn't even blink. "You disappeared. Grass was dead mail, piled up violations everywhere. We followed protocol." "Protocol?" I stepped closer. "You reported me as dead." She smirked. "Honestly, I thought you would die in combat. Would have made things easier." For a second, everything went silent. The air, the ticking clock, my pulse all froze. I could have exploded. I could have screamed. But I didn't. I just looked at her, memorizing every detail of her smug little face. She pushed a stack of papers across the desk. "It's legal. Property transferred. You can talk to a lawyer if you want, but it's done." I leaned forward, voice low. "No, Karen, it's not done." She rolled her eyes. "It is for you. Move on." I walked out before I did something that would have landed me in handcuffs. But make no mistake, I wasn't done. I'd fought wars overseas, but this was my war now. The next day I made calls to military legal services, to federal attorneys who specialized in the Service Members Civil Relief Act. Turns out selling the property of an active duty Marine without a court order isn't just poor judgment, it's a federal crime. And the thing about Karen, she'd left a paper trail a mile long. Within 2 weeks, subpoenas started flying. The HOA office was swarmed. Investigators tore through records, finding forged signatures, fake notices, and even missing funds. Every lie she'd written became evidence against her. I never raised my voice, never broke a thing. I just watched it all unfold calmly, methodically. The way you disarm a mine, you move slow, steady, and you never let emotion shake your hand. The family that bought my house, they weren't punished. The court refunded them and gave them time to move. My house was returned empty, stripped, but still mine. Karen, though, she wasn't so lucky. She was charged with multiple counts of fraud, forced to pay restitution for every item sold. My tools, my photos, my furniture, each one had a price, and the law made sure she paid it. The HOA dissolved under state investigation. Members resigned. Neighbors started whispering. Karen's perfect little world cracked like glass. And when the fines, legal fees, and restitution all came due, her own home went into foreclosure. 6 months later, I bought it. Cash. No announcement, no press. I just walked into the county office, signed the deed, and drove straight to her old address. When I unlocked the door, the place reeked of perfume and arrogance gone stale. I walked to the window, pulled open the curtains, and looked outside at the same street she once ruled over. People asked me if I felt bad. No. What I felt was balance. My old home is mine again. I'm rebuilding it, new walls, new memories. And Karen's former house, I turned it into something good, a transitional home for veterans coming back from service. No HOA meetings, no ridiculous rules, just a front porch, hot coffee, and peace. Karen still lives nearby. I see her sometimes at the grocery store. She looks smaller now, no clipboard, no power, just silence. She avoids my eyes. And I let her. She thought I wouldn't come back. She thought I'd stay gone. She was wrong. Never underestimate someone who's fought for what's theirs. Because once we've earned something, we don't surrender it twice.